This is Idea Exchange, the Future of K-12 Education series, brought to you by Macmillan Paston Smith Architecture.
In today's episode of the Macmillan Paston Smith K-12 podcast series, we're going to talk with Matt Massey. Matt serves as the president of the Alabama School of Cyber Technology and Engineering, located in Huntsville, Alabama. ASCTE, for short, is a public residential high school focused on STEM education. They integrate cyber technology, AI, and engineering into every subject they teach, including their history, math, and science classes. It's an extremely unique curriculum, and the facility that we designed for them really works to enhance the learning environment. You'll hear a little bit about how our facility has impacted their program, and it'll be a great conversation with Matt. He's a friend, and I look forward to talking with him. I'm Les Tillery. I am the Huntsville studio director and a principal for Macmillan Paston Smith, and I am excited to be talking to my friend and client, Matt Massey. Matt Massey is the president of the Alabama School of Cyber Technology and Engineering. Matt previously served as an educator for 19 years in the Madison County school system and was superintendent of the Madison County school system for the last 5 of those years. Matt is a lifelong educator who is a national board certified teacher who advocates for students across the state of Alabama and has served in many leadership roles. Welcome, Matt. Glad to have you today.
Thanks, Les. It sounded like you read that and that you really aren't my friend, but I'll give you a pass.
I did read that straight off of your LinkedIn profile. So
okay, fair enough.
Wanted to give you a little background to you. As we were talking about this last night, we talked about your career and your role as superintendent in Madison County. That's a very different elected position versus in the classroom. Just talk a little bit before we get into ASCTE information. Talk a little bit about your career and how you've grown in your career to get to be the president of the school there.
Thanks, Les. I like talking about that. Actually, I grew up, or basically in my after school care was at a high school. Both my parents were teachers and coaches at a small town in South Alabama in Citronelle. And my dad was a head football coach. My mom coached all the girls' sports. So after school, every day I was just hanging out at school, living my best life, going to whatever sport practice I wanted to. And came up, taught math, coached, and had a great time with that. And ended up kind of getting into a kind of a leadership role. I taught AP calculus and was a math lead teacher for our district. Our school district in Madison County is 28 schools, 20,000 students. So got to kind of see the kind of broader view and of things and kind of a district level. I did that while I also taught, so that was fun. And Alabama is only one of 2 states that allow for county superintendents to be elected, and about half of Alabama counties do that. So there was kind of honestly a leadership void, and it was kind of a tough spot for no administrator wanting to run against the boss. That's not a great, kind of a high stakes thing. And I had an administrative degree, decided, I didn't want to go into administration. Everybody that was a school administrator looks miserable. And so I was like, yeah, you know what, I'll just stick with this teaching thing. And because of that, I kind of got tapped by kind of our group of like, hey, since you don't want to be an administrator, why don't you go and give this thing a shot and give it a run? So yeah, I ran and got elected, was unopposed in the second term. So I did that for about 5 years and then got hired to start this school, which is a standalone state public magnet school with a residential piece. We have 400 kids and 105 live with us, and we're building a second dorm now that you guys are part of. And the other thing that we're doing, not that we're having school here, we're also an asset for the state. We're helping schools all across the state of Alabama and across the country.
When you and I met, it was 2019, and I think that was your first year of the school. Is that right? Was that the fall first fall y'all had?
Live 2019. Yeah, it's coming up on 7 years. It's wild that I've been here for almost 7 years.
Yeah. So when you think back to that earliest version, what challenge or opportunity was the school fundamentally designed to address, and has that mission evolved as you've grown?
Well, I tell you, I remember taking a graduate level class, and I got 2 administrative degrees there. And I remember one of them was a superintendent teaching the class in a neighboring district. It's for Stanford University. And it's like the number one thing that gets superintendents fired is a building project. Things that go over time, over budget, don't get what they want. And and it cost school leaders more than anything else would take them down as a building project. And so that's terrifying on that, because, superintendents of school systems aren't builders. They're not construction workers. They generally have never really worked with an architect unless it's like building a home or something on this huge project. And so when I came into Madison County, primarily they used one architect for everything. And I came in and kind of mixed it up and gave a lot of different folks opportunities, but quickly try to learn that while also learning, managing a bus garage and school nurses and, counselors, everything else that comes with it on that. But starting this job, knowing that I was the number one hire, and it was this vision to build a state-of-the-art school that's kind of recognized nationally as a leader, the education part, the schooling part, I felt comfortable with. The residential part was terrifying of a boarding school piece, but managing the project is what was going to be the biggest challenge. Luckily, we're kind of formed in a way where we have a foundation that technically is the client, for MPS, and so it is. But they let me have you guys let me have tremendous impact on kind of visioning this out and kind of tailoring it in and kind of capturing what was in my head onto paper or CAD and making it come to life was incredible.
We were fortunate to be able to work with you guys. As you know, we worked with Perkins and Will was our design architect for those first buildings, and it was a great process. And the facility turned out great. And that's kind of one of the things. Next thing I wanted to talk about is how is the facility impacted how your students learn and in the environment? Does that make a difference for their learning opportunities?
Yeah, it was kind of a risky thing that we did, because most school buildings, they just pack as many classrooms as you can.
That's right. It's very different.
I had a friend that was a district leader, and I actually caught up with him yesterday in Montgomery. He's helping turn around schools in Alabama. And his first time walking through was like, Matt, you need more classrooms. I'm like, yeah, that was kind of the point. We wanted to have different kind of learning spaces and make it very open. It's sort of a fishbowl everywhere you go. But we also wanted to make it be where it's a place where other teachers and educators could come and learn here. So sort of like, how do you build a school that feels like a school, but is also a lab environment where people can come and see teaching and learning. So we have all kind of different kind of mixed spaces and the flow of students in the building between levels. We wanted that. That's one of the things we talked about. I've been in schools that are built vertically, and it's like each hallway or each level is a total different environment and with total different values. And we wanted to keep all that blended together. And so y'all's team really was able to bring that to life. It was awesome.
That 3-story space, I know you guys have had drones flying in there, and you've had robotics stuff in there. What other sort of unconventional uses have y'all done in that major atrium space?
Yeah, so we got a big kind of 3-story kind of atrium in the middle there, but our bottom floor of that really is like a lab space. I mean, we created the doors where you can pull engineering and lab experience into the hallway. So our hallways are active learning spaces, and we kind of have the furniture in there that's conducive to that can slide out of the way and shoot a race car down the middle of the hallway, or drop stuff out of the top of the building down and do physics there. So the whole building is a learning opportunity for that. Our robotics team basically sets up kind of its camp, and they have access to the maker space, but they're sort of at the end of the hallway. And our racing team builds their race cars in the hallway. So we have visitors coming in, they're seeing those kids working in these open spaces. And, we have glass in every classroom there. And so kind of that was part of the thing where kids are going to be distracted and all that. But it kind of turns in, our kids say they kind of feel like they're fishing in an aquarium. They just ignore the, whatever coming in. They're kind of used to just locking in. And so it's been, I think it's really been a model of how a building needs to fit into the mission and the vision of what a school can be and what the goals need to be. And so I feel like that's what we've been able to do here is really, I don't think you could have done that with any other traditional type of school, what we were trying to do. And so that building was key to make the school and the environment, the culture come to life.
talk about that a little bit more. That your curriculum is very different from a normal high school curriculum in terms of you're weaving engineering and cyber education into every subject that you teach, history, math. Talk about how that's different from a regular high school experience.
Yeah, so we're how we were formed. It was separate from the State Department of Education. We're grades 9 through 12, but we're formed almost like a university that's set up to serve a high school kind of age group. So our board determines our standards, our curriculum, and that type of thing. And so we wanted everything to revolve around, the mission of the school, which is obviously a STEM focus in engineering, cybersecurity. Now AI is in there as much as those two other factors. But even our social studies classes we teach world history through the lens of engineering. So it's the history of engineering and technology. The second course for our social studies is a history of cryptography. So we'll study World War II through how, we were able to intercept and know where the Japanese fleet was going to be because they were able to decode theirs. And so how coding and encryption basically have played a huge role in history. And then we cap it off with social engineering and how technology tries to socially engineer, a population or nation states and governments do as well. So, those are all original courses that our teachers do research on and develop and test out and constantly refining to make better. But it was kind of like and I would say for our kids that typically don't come in with the kind of a love for humanities, but when you take those and you kind of lean it into the mission of the school with some of their favorite classes is applying that into those. And so we have those traditional social studies and language teachers, but they lean into that STEM and kind of the mission of the school. And so it works. It works really well.
You mentioned a while ago as a national model for this type of school, this type of education. And I think I've heard you say that there have been folks from other states come to see the school, and you've visited. I think you visited the Philippines even earlier this year. I may get the country wrong, but how has that worked for you in terms of outreach and expanding this model throughout other states in the country?
Yeah, we've sent one of our teams up to Alaska and had a conversation with the governor up there, and they're trying to enhance their cybersecurity and AI learning. So we're talking about working with them. We've had folks from all over the country come and visit. We're sending a team up to New York this summer to do a middle school camp after a kind of an elite private school up there. Kind of came down and saw what we were doing. They have a STEM focus. They're like, hey, what you guys are doing, that's what we need to strive for. And even on the international stage, there's schools in Latvia that we're talking with. They have engineering school they're trying to revamp. So we're talking with actually the embassy over there. And there's a lot of, citizens that work in the embassy that are involved in that school. The school you mentioned there was actually in Vietnam. It was an international school tied to the one in New York that they opened. And ironically, the head of that school's family roots are from Alabama. So we got to kind of reconnect on that in there. So it's, we're going to be working with that school and doing teacher training and stuff as well. We've had a group from Poland come and visit, and that's kind of part of their Department of Homeland Security and wanting to hey, we got to start this education process of protecting the country sooner. Can't wait to get 20-year-olds and start teaching them about cybersecurity. People are kind of finding out. We thought that would take a while, like 10 years, 15 years, but so we've only had, last week we graduated our 4th graduating class. So we're just getting started and getting this thing going. But it's the appetite for innovative educators are finding people that have good ideas and are willing to share, that without a whole lot of effort to really try to market and partner with the schools. They're finding us just through our website and social media. But it's when people visit though, what they notice is not the curriculum. It's the kids, it's the culture.
Right.
You're so kind to each other and nice to each other. But part of that is how we move through the building and use the building to try to embody that. If you have the right culture, you can do hard things. If you have a bad culture, you can have all the best curriculum and the best teachers. It's not going to matter. That culture will eat whatever academic program you try to throw out there.
Yeah, the school really does feel like a welcoming, collaborative place, a lot different than maybe a traditional school, which is more about discipline and keeping order. It's kids are coming and going, and every kid that I've met there is just, they look you in the eye, they shake your hand, they're, hello, Mr. Tillery, it's good to see you today. Glad you're here, that kind of thing. And they're just really, really sharp kids. And you've got to be really proud of how they handle themselves when they're in front of people. And y'all do put them in front of people a lot, like your donors and other businesses. Talk about that a little bit. It's because it's a little unique. The senior class, they don't have class in the building, right? They go to they have co-ops or internships with companies that support the school.
Yeah. So part of, we believe learning, even though we got a great building and great teachers, but learning takes place outside the classroom. And so we kind of like lead that in. We prepare these kids as freshmen, like how to talk to adults, look them in the eye, shake hands, engage in conversation, but it extends that senior year to where they actually go to work. So they'll come in and eat breakfast a little bit later than everybody else on that, and then they'll work on a capstone project, which has to be completed by like December. But they do an internship where they go out and work Monday through Thursday, and from like 9 to 1:30, and then they come back for one elective class from that. So it's and they can take that elective class, can be, AP biology or, a hacking class, or it can just be, kind of a fun class. They can, take outdoor pickleball or something like that. But it is getting them out there, and about a third of those kids actually end up working for those same companies during their college. And this isn't Burger King and Walmart type interns. They're interning with events companies, and basically we've been able to work, with our partners, and it's almost like a public-private partnership that we have. We're publicly funded, but we have partners have funded the building of the school, and so those are legit partners that are looking for work for us, and kind of our job is, we say, we're just producing talent, and we're getting the education right in front of them. We have high expectations for them, but it's also, they get out there in the field, and they just have our graduates have such a head start on everybody else. They're getting snagged up, before they're 20.
Yeah. And a lot of those companies are, companies like Lockheed Martin and SAIC, Leidos, Tritium, serious defense contractor type companies that are doing, really a lot of top secret and important work in our defense of our country. And your students are contributing to that right in high school, and then as they go to college, and that's very impressive. Talk about a little bit, you're a statewide school, and it's a public school. But because it's a statewide school, you have to be able to house students on campus. And so you have a residential dormitory, and we're actually under construction on the second dormitory. How is that? How have you handled that related? It's a little different than a normal school if you have just all local kids. Talk about that a little bit. Yeah,
so we're not funded out of local tax dollars, which is typical of most public schools in the country. We're funded by a line item in the state budget, so we need all those legislators from all corners of the state to understand that. And also geographically, we're located in the very north part of Alabama, Huntsville is. So it's a 6-hour drive for some of the ones who come from Mobile up here. So it's sort of, how do you make it? But it's important to have those students here. We're here for the whole state. And so being able to kind of sell families on that. So we're not, a lot of people that go to boarding schools, their whole families have gone to boarding schools, their parents and grandparents. It's kind of a legacy thing. Our students would have never gone to boarding school. In fact, have probably never known anybody to have ever gone to a boarding school. And that's a big sell when you're recruiting an 8th grader family up. We had our newly accepted families come on campus on Saturday, and we had a celebration for them here in May. And it was kind of, I mentioned to one of the families, like, yeah, we kind of say, if you don't want to come here, don't visit. Because if you visit, you're going to want to come. And they said that's exactly what happened to them. They're from Ozark, which is near Dothan, which is 5.5 hours from here, and heard about the school. They had a cousin or something that came and that told them about it. And they just said, well, let's just go see it. And they said, the parents were saying, the kid on the way up, it's like, yeah, I'm not going. We'll just take a trip to Huntsville. And after seeing it before they left that day, I was like, oh, I'm in. I got to get into school. So part of that's that environment of that. We have had one dorm with it's 4 floors. The bottom floor is our cafe. We have a salon. Kids get haircuts here. And that's in a workout room and locker rooms. But the 3 floors is co-ed. So girls will be on 1 floor, boys on 2. So having the second dorm for girls is going to kind of be when you're convincing the family of a 14-year-old, hey, come on, live up here. And
right.
And it's kind of easier to sell that, hey, we got a girls' dorm with host families here that are going to take care of everything. And so we're really looking forward to adding that to what we can offer.
Yeah, you've got sort of everything's home away from home for those residential students. You feed them. You mentioned the salon. There's a workout room in there. Everything that they need to be comfortable away from home. But you've grown even after the initial building, academic and residential building, got built. You've continued to grow, and your sports program has really taken off, and maybe something that you didn't anticipate to start with. We just completed your gym, and we built a soccer field and tennis courts. And how has your sports program influenced how you're doing education with STEM and cyber and AI?
Yeah, these kids are, if you go, I was reading an article the other day, they were talking about executives that are CEOs or in C-suites, like 90% of them played a competitive sport in high school. So we're creating leaders and that type of thing. And we wanted them to be in those environments in that. We started out, no, we're going to have to do robotics. We have a drone team and all that kind of stuff. But what we didn't want is for kids to have to give up volleyball to come here. And, and I've seen personally, talked about kind of growing up, the value of being on a team, competing, falling short, rebounding, the resiliency of that. And, and our goal is not to like win championships and all that, but it's to learn and compete as a team. It's also a way to kind of advertise the school, but it's kind of turned into some things of like, these kids compete. We've got, and finding coaches is kind of hard because people that are coming to teach engineering. I mean, I wanted to go teach math so I could coach football. That's why I went kind of in that K-12. And that was sort of in the traditional school, you're hiring coaches that teach. But here we had all these teachers and nobody came here to coach tennis or soccer or basketball. So that was kind of hard. How do you entice those teachers to do that on that? But we had our track team last week at the state overall. Boys finished 3rd in the state. They won the 4x100 relay and the 4x400 relay, kind of the 2 biggest races. And those were seniors that all did that. And they really trained and worked hard and kind of saw that pay off. And hey, this is a team sport, even though there's individual parts of it. So, it's been fun seeing all of our sports teams that were getting clobbered when we were first starting this to really be competitive in pretty much everything that we do. We talked today, Les, about like, hey, we got to start getting some banners in here because our swim team finished second this year. And track team, like, how are we going to do that? Are we going to, So something we didn't think about before. And so that's really fun. It adds, again, to that culture of the school. It's going to be, this is our 6th school year. And not one time has our volleyball team ever practiced on campus or had a game on campus. We had to travel and bus. Our basketball team bus to every practice, bus to every game. Every game was away. And we were able to accelerate and get that gym ready for the last week of the season. And we played 2 home games there back to back. That squeezed that in, and to see our kids at graduation, we graduated last week, and the kids talked about how that was one of their memories they'll remember the whole time, is having that first home game where everybody was there and cheered and we won the game and all that. So that's I tell you, it's really essential about bringing community together and what we've got. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. We really pushed to try to get that building open so you guys could do that. the opening night games that we went to, the girls games and then the boys games, that place was rocking when they were. I think they won. I think the girls won their games. I'm not sure the boys won, but it was fantastic atmosphere, and we really tried to create. Your campus is unique. Those first buildings were unique, and we tried to carry that through with the gym, and front it on the lawn area there so that you had a view into the building from the lawn and then back out to the lawn, to create really a kind of a quad there. And then the mezzanine on the upper level you could look down onto the court area, and really a daylight filled space. We really tried to make that a space that was on par, a quality design space and a place that the students really wanted to be in. You do actually have a lot of trusses up there you can hang banners from, and so we'll be glad to help you with that when you get some of those ready to hang. That would be very cool.
Well, and the design of that, we wanted it created as an inviting thing. I don't think there's any other gym where you can be outside the gym and actually see action happening inside. It's like you want to be in there, because so much of them is like you come in, there's a concession stand and tickets, and it looks like a wall. You walk in and you're looking at a wall, and we really wanted to, kind of like how our whole school is to be from the outside and see what's happening in there. And so, our girls actually lost. We never won a girls game, but we were ahead in that game in the fourth quarter. So that's why it was raucous for the girls game. And the boys did win that game, but I don't think we had
it backwards.
So like our band was there. I don't think there's ever been another pet band in the history of bands at basketball games where there's been 3 violinists, and the pet band. So it was a pretty unique atmosphere.
What advice would you give to other educators that are trying to get started? A program like what you've done. You've had to get off the ground a curriculum, a school that started in a space that was a temporary space at it was Oakwood University campus, and then you've got your buildings built. That was a huge lift. And you've done it all in just 7 years, and you've grown. I think you said earlier, and we've talked before about how you've grown faster than you anticipated. Your plan, accelerated. So just talk a little bit about like how would you, if you had to do it again, and any advice that you would give to others that are trying to do what you've accomplished.
Yeah, I would say, looking back, like you kind of lean in on, oh my gosh, we're creating a curriculum for 6 different subjects: math, science, social studies, language, cyber and engineering, for 4 years, an internship program where kids are going to be working. That's never been done before with 17 and 18-year-olds in these high-tech companies. And you may get focused on the academic part of that, but I would say the thing that I didn't do at first and that leaned into is the student support. If you take care of them in all the other facets, they can learn high level stuff and do that if they feel supported. And that includes nursing. Kids need medication. More than ever. It's almost like 40% of K-12 students are on some kind of daily med. So being able to support that and have that be a positive type of thing. Counseling, we do counseling different. Most schools, the counselor is almost a quasi-administrator. They're doing schedules and testing and all these other things, and they're not really doing counseling. So we went and hired mental health counselors that do counseling. Feeding kids well. We decided to not participate in the child nutrition program. That's public schools normally do. Or like kids can't eat this 3 times a day and be happy and healthy and want to come back. And so we actually take a cut of our budget and we support the food program, and kids pay about half that cost because feeding kids are expensive. But it was like, if we take care, make kids feel safe, so security, that type of thing, help them stay healthy so they're not missing school because they, have a runny nose, that type of thing. If you got a nurse here that can kind of like, hey, you're good to go, here's some Tylenol, go to class, or hey, maybe go back and sleep a few hours and come back in. You give them mental health support. You have all of our faculty members serving an advisory role. We have advisory time where we stop school for 15 minutes, and every adult in the building has about 6 kids, and our counselor sets things that we talk to them with. If you do all those things, those kids feel safe and supported and loved and encouraged, you can go do all the other academic stuff. on that. So I would like to say we kind of rewrote the book on kind of that whole child focus on that. And if you do that, then you can go do the learning. But if you try to we make everybody do calculus, everybody has to take physics. We have the toughest graduation requirements in the United States, where our graduates have to do those physics with calculus and calculus. They can do that if they're cared for and safe and all that kind of thing. So we provide a lot of academic support and all of that for all kids, not just, we have all levels of kids that come in here. So that would kind of be that advice. Don't get too caught up on being an academia or an educrat. It really comes back to caring for kids and putting them in a position to be successful.
I remember walking through the building early on with Senator Orr, and we were talking about, he was asking me questions about this and that, and we were talking about the great experience, the visibility across the atrium and that thing, and he's like, and that was his messages. This is all about the kids and taking care of the kids and providing an atmosphere that they can excel in. And you guys have certainly done that. It's quite impressive. So back to the, talking about the kids, they're going forward to college and they're working for these companies. Where do you see, this is your fourth graduating class, so you really haven't had a chance to see like how their careers, and I know you'll keep up with them and watch what they do in their careers, but you got any crystal ball, like what these kids are capable of and what they're kind of things they're going to achieve?
Yeah, before it started out, again, you're almost like training them to do certain jobs. But then we had kids wanting to go into these like biomedical technology, gene editing, space law, going into the legal field, like how do you navigate certain things of AI compliance and that type of thing. And so it is, I would say from what we really thought was like, hey, everybody needs a cyber workforce, whether it's financial institutions, healthcare, obviously defense companies, but all our kids are interning in all those sectors. But how we're kind of like, our kids have to present a lot in class. They're standing up, talking with folks, and they want to know, like, kind of a purpose driven. My job here is not just this task; it's this task to perform the overall thing of the goal. We talk a lot. Every kid can name the mission of our school. They know what it is. They can all recite it. They all know our core values. Every week we recognize kids that exemplify 5 of our core values, and we do it from the whole school. I think our kids are going to end up being leaders of these organizations, whether it's in hospitals or tech companies or in government. And they're want to serve to kind of their community. We kind of teach that part in there. So I think, we've kind of like almost kind of evolved into like, hey, we're almost kind of training them for jobs that don't even exist yet with the advent of AI and we've talked to people that they're hiring less people now because AI can do so much coding for folks. And so what is that going to mean for the future workforce? I think you're going to see dynamic changes in workforce in the next decade. But I think our students are going to be on the forefront of that.
I think you're right. Those kids are brilliant and very, very capable of doing anything that they set their minds to. Anything parting shot for you? Anything that you want to cover that is important that I didn't ask, or just give us wrap up a few words?
Yeah, man, I don't have anything on my mind, Wes. Appreciate the opportunity and to work with the team. And I would say it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. I think it's actually more rare than that. If you get to kind of, there's a ton of educators in this country that have a heart for kids and that type of thing. But to get to kind of come up with a kind of like living that and being sort of a family business and getting to kind of dream up like an ideal situation of what public education can be, to kind of get to have an opportunity to make all that kind of happen. And it's like, hey, we want to be here. Not like, I hate school rankings and that type of thing. It is like everybody has a culture of getting better. We're going to have another culture. We're going to be getting better next week. We're going to have a whole staff meeting of like, hey, here's some changes we're going to do of that. So having that mindset and being a center where folks can come and kind of talk shop and I would say we're here with a sense of humility of the opportunities that we have and the structure set up to do great things. And we think that's possible everywhere around this country.
Well, it's been my honor to get to work with you guys, and we're so appreciative of the opportunities there. You know, it's real easy to get caught up in the nuts and bolts of the process of building a building. You know, putting these details. You know, the contractors doing this and all these things that go into the process of building a building. But it's nice to be able to step back and look at, like, what are we accomplishing here? This is about the school and about the kids, and to create an environment, to look back on it and say, well, we helped create an environment that these kids are excelling in, and other people are looking at across the country, to as inspiration. That's very humbling, and we appreciate you letting us be a part of that. All right. Well, I appreciate your time, Matt. Enjoyed talking to you, and look forward to seeing you. I think I'll see you tomorrow, as a matter of fact. So,
I'll take care.
Thank you for listening today. Please listen to more of our K-12 episodes to learn about the future of K-12 education and how McMillan Pazin Smith is helping to shape that for the future.
Thanks for tuning in to Idea Exchange, the Future of K-12 Education series. Remember to subscribe so you don't miss our next episode.